And I'm delighted to say that I have got our wonderful stake member for Morayfield, Darren Grimwade, in the studio. Hello, Darren.
Hello, and good morning, and good morning to your listeners.
Yes, yes. Now, have you been in our studio, this one, before?
No, in fact, this is the first time I've been in here. I was standing outside, as you mentioned before, talking to some of the staff here at 101.5, and I didn't actually realise you guys were in here. So,
yeah, there you go.
But it is very nice. It's very swish. It's looking very nice indeed.
It is, and it will look even better in a few days' time, Darren. We've got things happening in the winds. We could get on to Craig. But
Absolutely.
Anyway, what are we going to talk about, Darren?
Well, look, I think I came in today just to talk about a few things that have been happening since I was in here last. Obviously, as Councillor Riddell was just talking about, they've got their budget this week happening, and we've got ours happening as well, coming down on Tuesday. So
that's tomorrow?
That's tomorrow, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Wow, so the 4th of June.
Yeah, I'm heading straight out of here today. Heading into Parliament, so and then we'll be sitting tomorrow through till Friday and doing the budget week. So it'll be a big week for us.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yes, it will be a big week. I think you'll be having many takeouts, won't you?
Yeah, well, I think it's one of those things with budget. It's hard sort of to come in here the day before budget and preempt what's going to be into it, because we can't talk what's what's going to be involved. But one of the things I will talk about, and something very exciting that's happening for my electorate, is the Burpengary High School that we announced last week. That's a pretty big win for the community indeed. It's one of those things that when I go out and about around Narangba and Burpengary, and even as far up as in Morayfield, people, when they talk about education, they don't sort of talk about Gonski, and they don't talk about all the big branding exercises. Their number one concern really is that we're a fast-growing region. We've got Morayfield High School and Narangba Valley High School at capacity. 2015 we've got grade 7 moving into high school as well, so there's a big concern about where all these kids going to go. So to be able to announce that only 2 high schools were announced, new high schools in Queensland, and one of those will be coming to Burpengary is very, very exciting. So
well done.
Yeah. So I think in that context, it's one of those things that it wasn't an election promise. We fought hard throughout the election period, sort of indicating that was something that a lot of people were talking about. But we didn't want to come out and make an election promise on that issue. But we'll still be delivering this, if you like, throughout this term without being an election promise. So it's all very exciting and good news for our local community and kids. Yeah.
What year do we expect that to be up and running?
Look, we go through a bit of a process now of acquiring land. And
so it's a little way off?
Yeah, you're probably looking at about a 2016 start.
16, okay.
Yeah, so it will be a bit of a process going through, but those schools that we've got have already got money, and there should be some money in the budget as well allocated for the Narangba High School to build additional buildings and those sorts of things to allow the growth of the grade 7s coming in 2015. And then this should be ready by 2016 to take that pressure off. So it's a bit of a stepping stone, if you like, to make sure we've got the right infrastructure. And it should be good. It should be a good process.
Darren, is there a whole lot of community consultation when a school is being built? I know there is for other buildings, but what about a school?
Yeah, there's not a lot of community consultation in regards to where it's going. Okay. So basically, what happened in the process here for your listeners is that when the Newman government got elected, we decided that we wouldn't sort of go ad hoc like we'd been doing for 10 years and just picking schools based on what's popular, what's a marginal electorate, where we want to win some votes, those sort of things. We actually employed a boundary or a planning commission, and that planning commission, the schools planning commission, was tasked to go out there and to look at Queensland, work with local governments, look at urban footprints and things like that, and work out where areas were going to be of high need in the future. So sort of a 10, 20-year, 30-year vision on where we're going to need these schools. Now, obviously, across Queensland, there was a lot of hotspots, and due to the budget constraints we've got, we announced that we would build 10 schools. We'd announced 10 new schools, and obviously there was probably 20 or 30 different locations that could have had those schools. And so it was sort of up to us, or myself as the local MP, to really make submissions to the Planning Commission and to the Minister, sort of outlining why our area needed this school, the feedback that I had from parents as I was campaigning since I've been the member, working with P&Cs and understanding their concerns at their P&C meetings for new school and those sorts of things. So I was able to put some submissions through to the Minister and sort of fight on behalf of the community, and that was sort of ongoing for the last 6 months.
Okay.
And when we eventually got the good news, it was very pleasing that we'd sort of made good representation on behalf of the community for what they wanted, and they were allocated. So that's how that process works to get the school up and running. Now it sort of works that we don't actually have a site. So the location's been fought for and won, being Burpengary, and now we've got to find the site. So the Department of Education will work with Projects Queensland, and basically what they do is they go out and they look at where is the best site for the school. They've got to look at land availability, they've got to look at transport, they've got to look at access, they've got to look at a number of different things, including future growth, where new estates are going to be built with the council planning schemes, and those sorts of things. So they will do that. I'll have a little bit of correspondence in regards to that, but as you can imagine, due to the commercial and confidence type negotiations they would have, they don't sort of go out and allow sort of too many community consultation processes to go with that. So they sort of map that out based on fact rather than the community consultation based on fact of where people are going to be coming, what schools are going to be feeding into it, where the school actually needs to be placed. So they'll go through that process over the next few months, and then we'll be able to, before the end of the year, sort of announce a location, if you like, and then the process will go through the tenders of building the school, maintaining the school, and all those sorts of things. So it is a bit of an exciting process. I think it's a real win for our community. I know that through budget restraints and those sort of things, we've done it tough, and we've had to make some tough decisions. But being able to deliver things like this, important infrastructure for our kids, I think is heading in the right direction.
Well, it's the only way to go, really, isn't it?
Yeah, sure.
Look after our youth. I'm just thinking, Darren, you've got other little bits of paper there. Yeah, listen, have a look.
Yeah, well, look, there's a couple of other things I'll just run through. The residents that throughout the Morayfield electorate should have received my biggest community survey by now.
Yes.
So as part of the Queensland plan that I was talking about last time I was on the show, we've started to roll that out now after the Mackay Summit. So everyone should have got their DL folded biggest community survey. And this is an opportunity, although we will be running forums and seminars and consultation all over the electorate through till September, this is a good opportunity for people to get that out of their mailbox, fill it in. It's a bit of a tick and flick, if you like, in regards to all the different areas.
It's pretty easy, though.
Oh, yeah, no, it only takes a few minutes. And they can fill that out and send it back. Now, I've actually got a reply paid on there as well, so it won't cost the resident anything. They can
just fold it up,
fold it up,
sticky tape on
put it in the mailbox, and it'll come back to us. And one of the things we're looking to do is on the back there, it's got some personal details too, with emails and things like that. If people can fill that in and send it back to my office, what we're looking to do is, once we've got all these back, and we're anticipating we'll probably get a couple of thousand of them, we'll actually be doing up some graphs and some feedback and actually communicating out to those ones that have given us their details via email or post what the results were. So I think, again, you do a lot of these surveys sometimes and it goes into...
hear nothing.
That's right, it goes into the government coffers and you hear nothing. We actually want to sort of get out there and look at the biggest community survey, look at the results, put some pie graphs and some graphs together and show people what the trends were, what the majority of people were thinking in regards to different areas around our electorate. And for myself, it'll give me a good idea as a local MP. What are the big issues? What are people concerned about? Do they think our healthcare is sufficient? Do they think our education system is sufficient? Roads, etc. So it'll be a good indication of the community expectation, if you like, when they fill this out and send it back to us. So I encourage everybody to get their copy.
Now, just going to say, Darren, if in fact any of our listeners have received a copy and just said, another survey and thrown it out, can they get another copy?
They can get another copy. They can get another copy by contacting my office.
Okay.
We've got spare copies in there. Or they can go on to my usual www.darrengrimwade.com.au, which is my website. Or if you Google my name, you'll come across my website. We've actually got an online version there. So it's exactly the same survey, but you just go online and tick the boxes and submit it at the end and it's done. So
which is great.
Yeah, there's a couple of options there that people can still take part, and we encourage everyone to take part and have their say.
It's a great opportunity. There's Queensland plan, isn't it? And it's part of it.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
we should use it to the best advantage.
Well, I think as we get to September and we start talking about what the community want, this gives us a good grounding of what the people in the area actually think.
Yep.
And, when I'm in Parliament and I'm moving policy and I'm debating things and I'm going to party room, I need to know what the overwhelming majority in the community think on different issues.
Yep.
And this is just one way to get that feedback.
Well, if the community is great and gives you the information, then you can pass that on, Darren, and we've got an option then of getting what it is that we want.
Yeah, absolutely.
If we say nothing to you, what can you say on our behalf?
That's right, and I think that's one of the important jobs of a more modern MP, if you like, is I like to spend a lot of my time out in the community.
Yeah.
People know that I have my roadsides and my community listening posts. They know that I attend a lot of events, and I still do door knocking now for people. This is just another way of people sort of giving their feedback or letting me know what their big concerns are in the community without having to really, I suppose, make an appointment and come in and see a politician, which a lot of people don't want to do.
No.
This is just an informal way of telling me quickly what you think of the state of Queensland and where it's heading. So,
for the people that have just tuned in, we've got the state member for Morayfield, Darren Grimwade, speaking to us in the studio, and we've just gone through the biggest community survey. If you've got your form there that you haven't filled out yet, get to and do it, or you can go online to Darren's website, even his Facebook. If you just want to go in there and get his website, you can do that, and you can do the survey online and get it over. And as Darren is saying, he needs that feedback from all of us so that he can do his job the way in which we want him to do. Yeah?
Absolutely, yeah. No, that's part of the process, by all means.
Appreciate that, Darren. Now, is there anything else that we should talk about? I'm just looking here at the things. I've got to start bringing some wonderful sponsors information to us shortly. So.
Sure, that's okay. Well, look, if you want to do that, that's good. But some of the things I just wanted to touch on before I leave today is I actually had 3 ministers in my electorate last week. The Minister for Transport, the Minister for Disabilities, talking about the NDIS and an announcement with domestic violence. And we also had the Assistant Minister for Child Safety as well down here talking about foster caring. So I thought I'd just touch on a few of those good things, and having ministers visit the electorate's a good thing. It's showing a keen interest in our local area. So. Good
on you, Darren. Go for that then.
Yeah, well, look, the first one I guess I wanted to touch on and let your listeners know was the minister there that came out, Tracy Davis, the Minister for Disabilities. She actually came out and was talking about domestic violence in the area. So basically the announcement we made was that we were contributing as a government, with Estrella there from the Caboolture domestic violence. We would contribute $2.5 million over the next 3 years. So over $800,000 a year, or $2.5 million over 3 years, to help with domestic violence in our area. So that was a big announcement, and that was sort of one of those items that is in the budget that'll be coming down tomorrow. And again, to have her out here and speaking not only on the NDIS or the disability sector down here in the neighbourhood centre at Caboolture, but to have her come out and make this announcement with Estrella and really make a statement that we are addressing some of these issues around our area was a really good thing. So that was probably one of the highlights of this week, and like I said before, to have her come out in person and actually make that announcement and visit some of these places is good grounding for our area, because we need to have these ministers who are ultimately making good decisions for the government to be out here listening to people, like we said before, out here talking to the people that it affects, and making these announcements. So
that's a lot of money, Darren, isn't it?
It is a lot of money, and I guess the system down here is through the Caboolture domestic violence. There, they actually do a lot of hours. I think it was about 5,000 hours of time in regards to counselling and services. They also do about 2,300 or 2,400 hours of time in courts helping people. So they actually make a significant contribution to cracking domestic violence and helping in a lot of cases women who have suffered domestic violence and those sorts of things. And when I go out and about again and I speak to people like Estrella and I speak to the team down there, they tell me that we really have to get funding into this area. We have to be able to support these people that are obviously being affected by domestic violence, and to come out and make that announcement with Estrella there and everyone else was again a really good win for our local community. So.
Darren, just the perpetrator of this, do they get some help too?
the perpetrator of
the domestic violence?
Well, look, the funding is for counselling services.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, when you say we're funding counselling services or we're access services, a lot of people sort of think it's the person that's been a subject of
victim.
Yeah, that's right. Look, anyone who is suffering domestic violence from either end of the stick,
yep.
or any family member who think that one of their family members is suffering domestic violence, can ring this association and ask questions and get feedback and assistance and help and counselling and all those sorts of things, because that's the whole idea of it, is for people to be made aware as we run these campaigns, what to look for in family members when it comes to domestic violence, who might be suffering, and they'll be able to ring this number as well and get services through here to be able to assist in isolating and finding out. I mean, it's a terrible situation.
You've got to stop that cycle, haven't you? Because it's terrible.
That's absolutely, and I think if you put a fair bit of money like this into services like that, you make awareness campaigns and you get people to isolate and really ground down to who's actually being affected here. If we can stop those sort of social issues in the community and put a lid on it, then that obviously will reflect a good community as well.
Yeah.
A safe community, a community that's looking after each other, and that almost leads us back to the Queensland plan. How can we be a better community? Through we rather than me. We have to, as a community, look after ourselves.
We, our, and us. They're the words we should be using rather than me, and I.
Absolutely, and this is another example of putting money in, helping domestic violence victims as well, and being able to, as a community, work together for a better place to live. So
sounds good, Darren. I'm just thinking we're almost out of time.
Sure.
Is there something else that we should start? I'll just play some of our wonderful sponsors. Okay, we're back online just for a couple of moments with our state member for Morayfield, Darren Grimwade. And Darren, we've got a little bit here to finish off the morning's chat in regards to child safety. What's that?
That's right, yeah. So one of the other ministers that I had out in my electorate last week was the Assistant Minister for Child Safety, Tanya Smith. She's a member for Mount Omni. She came out to talk about foster caring and kinship and those sorts of things.
Yep.
Again, sort of taking a keen interest in the local area, and what we're trying to do, what we'll be rolling out over the next 6 months, is a recruitment campaign for foster carers. Okay. So we target, obviously, at the moment, there's sort of no awareness campaign about what foster carers do, how to become a foster carer, what are the benefits of being a foster carer, and again, looking at the community of how can we help each other and play that important role of helping out. So she was out here, and we were down there at Anglicare down on Morayfield Road. Probably the best way to describe it is behind KFC. It's one of those buildings in behind there. And talking to them about the services that they funded for under the state government, and working on a bit of a campaign locally of how we can get the word out there for foster carers and do a bit of a recruitment drive. So that was interesting, and coming from a background where, I don't have a good grasp of what's involved either, being able to sit down with them and understand the process and how it works and how people can apply to be a foster carer, and all those sorts of things was really good, actually. It was a bit of a interesting time with the Assistant Minister sort of going through things and working out a plan. But throughout the next 3 to 6 months, I'll be doing a lot of things around the community, information stalls, advertising through schools, those sorts of things, and really just trying to help them down there to get some interest, probably spark a high level of interest of people who actually want to get some information of what a foster carer does and how they can play their part. And then once we get that interest out there, they've agreed down there at Anglicare 2 to start running some information evening sessions.
Okay.
Yeah. So people can sort of come along, express their interest, no commitment to anything, and then come along for a 1 hour evening session of what's involved to go through everything, get your questions answered, and those sorts of things, and obviously get some information on it. And it's interesting because as I get around the community, a lot of people say to me, about foster carers and how does it work, and there's a lot of misconceptions in regards to the kind of children and those sort of things that are in the system. And I've been out there. In fact, one of the places I was out there with the Assistant Minister was visiting some of these places and visiting some of the kids that have been foster care or in care, and you go out there and there's just really some wonderful people, not only adults that are the carers but also some wonderful kids too, achieving some things. And I had the pleasure of sort of getting out there with some of them, kicking a footy around and playing a bit of cricket and seeing what these kids are doing too, but also looking at the lives of how they've come about being a kid in care. So, it will be good. Something I've sort of taken a bit of a keen passion in, if you like, to help them out. And hopefully over the next 3 to 6 months we can really get a local recruitment campaign going and get some interest in the area.
That sounds good. Darren, as usual, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, and we know that you're one of our busiest state members. I mean, goodness me, I take my hat off to you guys. Sometimes coming back from Brisbane and I see you, I'm coming back from probably a nice night out, and I see you guys heading home. I think, for goodness sake, where have they been now? But we do appreciate you.
That's all part of the job, I suppose, of what people want you to do, and you're out there attending as many things as you can. The more things you attend, the more people you get to talk to, so that's the good part of the job.
Well, keep up the good work, and as we said, we'll look forward to some of these things coming to fruition in the very near future, hey?
Yeah, absolutely, and I'll be more than happy once the budget's handed down to come back on air and have a chat about...
We'll appreciate that too.
And to say some of the things that are happening and let your listeners know.
Darren, again, as I said, our state member for Morayfield, thank you very much for giving us of your time, and you're heading off into Brisbane now, I should imagine, are you?
Yep, I'll be leaving the studio now, heading straight into town. The boys of the ministers and the Premier obviously have their cabinet meetings on Monday, and then we've got our party room meeting to debate separate things this afternoon, and then we'll be into the budget week after that.
Probably to bed by midnight tonight, hey? Hopefully.
If we're lucky.
Oh my God. Okay, well, you stay safe, and we'll look forward to talking to you again very shortly.